Mm-hmm.
Welcome to our October Moto Ikebana lesson. My name is Brenda Baird, and this is Moto Ikebana, and we're going to feature today baskets. Let me just tell you a few things about baskets. In Japan, baskets are normally made of bamboo, and did you know that every basket in every culture is always handmade? And of course, no two are precisely, exactly, perfectly alike because they're handmade. Every culture has a basket history. That's amazing to me. Just like every culture has a quilt history. Baskets are used in the art of Ikebana, of course, and for Cha-bana tea ceremony, for tea ceremony flowers. And normally baskets are used only 3 months out of the year: spring, summer, and autumn. And of course, baskets are used for utilitarian purposes, which is very exciting. Now let me share with you that in Japan, a little bit about bamboo. Bamboo is one of Earth's most versatile materials. It is capable of growing 30 inches in one day, depending on the climate and the locale. And it has sustained civilizations throughout Asia for thousands of years. Its fast growth and its strength and straightness of fiber allow for a variety of uses, from home building to basket weaving. As Japanese tea ceremony became popular in the Edo period from 1615 to 1868, so did the demand for baskets, as flower arrangements are an integral part of the tea ceremony experience. Now, during the 19th century, a small group of artists from the Kansai region, which is where I lived when I was in Japan, they explored a more artistic approach influenced by the art of the West. Now, let me just share with you that I'm sure most of you know about national treasures. And when you think of a national treasure, you think of maybe a place or a piece of architecture. But in Japan, the Japanese have national living treasures. And these are people, artisans from different regions that have perfected and have just created a marvelous art form in history with the culture. Now, I'd like to feature, and you can look up online, Noboru Fujinuma. And Fujinuma-san is a national living treasure in Japan, a basket weaver since 2011. He came to the United States in, I think, 2012 and did an exhibition at the University of Illinois to their Japan House, where they have cultural Japanese events there held on campus. And he did a class on basket making. Wouldn't that have been exciting? Now, when we lived in Japan, we actually went to Arima in the mountains, and there was a national living treasure sitting there in his studio weaving baskets. So there are more than one, and you can get online and look at all the different national living treasure people that exist in Japan. It's so exciting. Now, let me just share with you a little bit about the baskets that I have here. These are all baskets that I've collected from Japan, and ones that are made for Ikebana usually have, this has a little plastic liner inside. This one is rather deep, so I have actually taken basket liners and I turned some upside down in the bottom, and then I have this one that I would put a kenzan in and then set it right there, so I have easy access to the mechanics in a basket. Even a tray works as a basket, as a woven piece, and you can use a Pyrex dish or a clear basket liner and then put your kenzan inside to arrange, and use this as your container, really, or your form. Even a basket like this, it has a wood bottom. You can put a well kenzan in there and create in there. This is one that has an Ikebana bowl with a bamboo, made out of bamboo, cut, sliced, and then cured and stained black. This one is one that's a wooden piece that has a slit in it with a little hook that is adjustable, and you can slide this, unscrew it and slide it up and down along this long pole, and then place this beautiful Ikebana basket. It has a little, again, another little plastic liner inside, but you could find some kind of a tube or something and place it in there and cascade clematis or vines and that kind of thing for an Ikebana. And of course, baskets can be natural, and they can be stained dark, or they can be stained. This one was my mother's. I bought her in Japan, and it is both the kind where a hook, you can hang it on the wall with the little pot with the kenzan inside, or you can turn it sideways, set it on the table, and arrange through the weaving of the basket. These are Japanese basket weaving around rocks that we use in the spring when we do a landscape form, and these form like a little dam in your waterscape instead of rocks. There you have the rocks already here, and with the basket it makes like a little dam in your waterscape design. So there's some more basket weaving with rocks inside. And then these smaller pieces of little baskets, we wouldn't use these for Ikebana, but I brought them anyway because they are woven, and these are oshibori baskets. So oshiboris are the little washcloths that you fold up and then you roll up, you wet them, and in the summer you chill them and you put them on your table for your guests so they can wipe their hands in the summertime and be refreshed before they dine and use have their meal. In the wintertime, I found I use the microwave, and you can roll it up and put them in the microwave and make them nice and warm so people can warm their hands and clean up before a meal. This is an example of it's a reproduction print of a giant scroll that is in Japan. It's by Kenzan Ogata, and the Ogatas were artisans in Japan hundreds of years ago. And this is just an example of a poem written about the autumn flowers, and you can see the baskets and how they were used back then as a part of Ikebana. These are all examples of baskets. Almost any kind of basket will do. There's another example of a Pyrex dish with your kenzan down in there that you can place off to one side or centered in a basket with a handle. So don't be afraid to use one with a handle. If the handle's very tight, you may want to push the kenzan off to one side and arrange so it's easier to access. But enjoy baskets and enjoy looking up Japanese national living treasures on Noboru Fujinuma-san and see his wonderful art and just the beauty of baskets and bamboo. 3 elements. We are going to use huckleberry, which they're kind of fragile and kind of, the stem is very woody. And actually, if you're lucky, you get some little huckleberries on there. I did have a student ask me, oh, are they poisonous to animals or pets? And one of the students said, absolutely not. Bears eat them all the time. So they're very tasty to animals, so they're not poisonous. Then we're using Asiatic lilies, and we're using hypericum berries as a filler in both designs, whichever works for your particular container. And of course, we're working in a basket, and we're making this a nice autumn design in a basket. So you may have a basket with a very tall handle, such as this, and you may want to even put it at a slight angle like this so that you can see, and the handle actually becomes part of the design and part of the line that's going on. This one is a low basket, and I have a well kenzan inside. Do be sure that when you use a well and you use a kenzan and you put it in either a glass Pyrex dish or any kind of little container, you want to be sure to check it every day, because these flowers are very thirsty, and you may find that they'll drink up all of that hydration in one day. So be sure to check it every day when you get it home, and place it in a place that's not too sunny or not too breezy or windy, because all of that dries out the flowers and evaporates all the water. All right, so you get to choose when you use your huckleberry, is your huckleberry spread horizontally or is your huckleberry more vertical like this one? So in this design, we use the huckleberry as the tie or the heaven line, and then we had a branch that was 3/4 of the height of heaven, and that's man. We're made in God's image, but we're not God. So it could be that they're all the same branch and have both elements in one piece, or you may have two separate pieces to put in. Then you can add a little extra if you have a little extra to the back or even to the front, but your basket will determine what you do in your placement. Then your Asiatic lilies, you want to place them half or below the height of the heaven line. Because I had a handle here, I don't want to detract from that, so I put them rather low in the design in the basket. Now, if you have your Asiatic lilies open up and they have the pollen on them, I'm going to pluck these out. So very carefully, you can take a tissue and pluck them out like this. And if you get pollen on the flower or on your finger, you simply take a piece of Scotch tape. You roll the Scotch tape into a roll with the sticky side out, and then you can simply blot that tape onto your finger to take off the excess pollen. So that's a tip for the stamens. You want to try to get them out before they turn polleny like this, because they'll just make a mess. You don't want to get them on a white clothing. But if it happens, you can use your Scotch tape, and that sticky will lift off all of that piece of pollen on there. So that's a good tip to have. Okay. Then you'll place, in this case, I put my berries low. Hypericum berries, a lot of times when you get them, the leaves are very voluptuous and fresh, and they look so pretty, and you don't want to take them off. But do take off any foliage. You want all the foliage to be off at least 2 to 3 inches from the top of your kenzon. You want a nice clean line. And you can take off all the leaves if you want, because they will eventually shrivel and dry up, and then you can take them off. These have actually dried up over 2 days now, so they're getting a little dry, but some of them look nice. So you decide whether you leave them on or take them off. In this case, I use the lily to be the heaven line, and then the second lily to be the man line. And then I filled in with a Hypericum berry and used the spreading huckleberry foliage as my earth, instead of having it represent heaven and man. Now, you can see on the, I'm just going to pull this one out here. You can tell the difference between the back side, which is lighter green, and the front side of your huckleberry, which is a nice shiny dark green. So you want to analyze your foliage to make the best use or the best angle so that you'll get more of the green, the darker green. And sometimes the branches will go this way, which this one does, but if I tried to turn it this way, it might be good in the back, going up in the back, but it might be going down in the front. Do you understand? So you need to analyze all your branches and really look at it to see, is it going left facing, right facing, and turn it to its maximum potential, okay? So enjoy this month's design with huckleberry foliage, Asiatic lilies, and red Hypericum berries. And use your baskets, because each one is unique and special. And no two of us, just like a basket, are exactly the same. You pick out your whatever you get, that's what you get. Yep. Yep.